Hey everyone, it's Olivia and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I am going to talk about how I rate my books. I saw Millie over on Into the Nook do this video and I thought it was such a smart idea because everybody rates their books differently and the star rating system honestly doesn't really mean anything. So Millie is super cool and she's got a really awesome TBR game and she is incredibly sweet. So you should definitely check out her channel. I'll leave links in the description below and make sure you subscribe because she creates some really awesome content. I wanted to do this video because I'm planning to upload some book reviews that I have backlogged for a long time now. And I just wanted to have a quick guide to how I rate and a little bit about how I review books so that you can always refer to this video when I talk about how I rate books, because I feel like the way that I rate books seems a little bit harsh, but it's not meant to. Everybody's system is different, so I'm just gonna talk about how I rate books. When I started rating and reviewing books, I really just based it on the general Goodreads system, which is 1 star meaning I didn't like it, 2 stars meaning it was okay, 3 stars meaning I liked it, 4 stars meaning I really liked it, and 5 stars meaning it was amazing. So I didn't really have any reference on how to rate books other than what Goodreads said each star meant, so that's how I started, and since then I have tweaked it a little bit more to fit how I read and rate books, but generally it does kind of follow that concept that Goodreads has. I just want to start off by saying like the way that I rate books is purely based off of my own like emotions and feelings and thoughts about the book, and there's nothing really objective about how I rate books. I'm not doing it for like some kind of professional reason. I'm just doing it for personal reasons to express my feelings and emotions and experience. So a lot of stuff goes into how I rate books, and because of that there is no concrete way that I rate books. It's really different depending on the book and how I feel about it. So keep in mind that you should take everything I say with like a grain of salt. This is just a general overview of how I would rate a book, but then sometimes it will fluctuate between different star ratings just depending on how I feel. So I'm just gonna start from the bottom because when you're at the bottom, there's only one way to go and that is up. So 1 star reads for me generally means that I really didn't like this book. I didn't enjoy reading it and I didn't really enjoy any aspects of the book other than the concept. Because when I pick up a book, that means I was curious enough about the concept or interested enough to pick up the book, but 1 star reads means that the way that the concept was executed was not, in my opinion, something I enjoyed or liked in any way. Oftentimes 1 stars will actually be 0 stars, but you can't actually give 0 stars on Goodreads, so it will be given 1 star. Based off of that, that means I really disliked this book with a passion. I don't like to say I ever hated books because hate is just a really strong emotion, but these books I really didn't like. If I disliked it with a passion, that means I get really upset when I think about the book or when anybody asks me about that book or when I see that book somewhere. I'm just like, oh my god, I really didn't like reading this book. I don't like it. And then it makes me upset. A 1 star read could also mean this is a book that I wish I had never read or a book that I thought was a waste of time to read. Oftentimes 1 star reads for me will be like really problematic without really addressing anything about how problematic it is within the book itself, and sometimes the book is just a mess to me and I would rate it 1 star. So here are some examples of 1 star reads for me. Obviously each one of these examples would have a different combination of things that I disliked about it that all pile up. So for example, We Contain Multitudes is what I would consider one of the worst books I've ever read because I found it to be extremely extremely problematic. I didn't really enjoy any aspect of this book other than the concept. I felt like it was not executed very well. And another example is Cursed. I really didn't enjoy reading this book. I wasn't interested in the main character. I was not invested in her story. I found a lot of aspects of this world to be confusing or jarring. I felt like the pacing was really strange. There were just a lot of things about this book I didn't enjoy, so it was a 1 star for me. So feelings that are often experienced with 1-star reads for me would be annoyance, exasperation, and anger. So 2 stars for me means that I didn't like the book, or as Goodreads would say, it was okay. To elaborate a bit on that, it means that I didn't just like the concept of the book, but I think within the content of the book itself, I did enjoy other aspects of it, but I didn't like enough aspects of the book to outweigh the amount of stuff that I disliked about the book. It could mean that I like one main aspect of the book but didn't like the others. For example, I could like the world building a lot in a book but didn't enjoy the characters or the plot. It could mean that I liked parts or moments or certain aspects of the book, but within the context of the book itself, I didn't think worked very well together. 2 stars could also mean that I had trouble connecting with the book, not necessarily the characters, but it could also just be a lack of investment in the story or the plot or the world, or an expression of just disinterest of some of the major aspects of the book. And oftentimes 2 stars means that I was really disappointed with what I read. When it comes to books that you have expectations for and then you read and are disappointed, I feel like those feelings are always much more stronger than other feelings that you have. So when I'm disappointed with a book, it just really depends and fluctuates based off of what exactly was I expecting, what exactly was I disappointed about. And the thing is, if I was really disappointed with a book, I would probably rate it 2 stars. If I was just kind of disappointed with it, it would probably be a 3 stars. So for example, I rated The Fascinators 2 stars. I really liked the concept of this novel, as well as some of the elements of the book itself. I really liked that it was focusing on the friendship and relationships between the characters rather than mainly focusing on the magic. I liked a lot of the foundation that was built on how the magic works. However, I was very confused about how the magic worked, as well as the fact that I felt like all the characters were very stagnant and didn't really have much development. There was one character in particular that had her own arc, but I thought came from nowhere. So it was very confusing, and I felt like all the pieces of the puzzle didn't really fit well together for this book. Another 2-star read for me was the Gwenevere Deception. I really liked the concept of this book, and there were aspects about it that I really enjoyed, like this author's version of Camelot and Arthurian legend. I really liked the not magic as well in this book. However, I don't think that the main character, Gwenevere, who actually doesn't know who she is and what her role is, to be very bland, because she doesn't know, the reader also doesn't know, and I just felt very unattached to her character and the events of the book itself. Feelings that are often experienced when I read 2-star books are confusion, detachment, and disappointment. 3 stars generally means that I liked the book. Lots of people consider 3 stars like a bad rating. I don't consider it a bad rating at all. I consider it a pretty good rating, honestly. 3 stars means I liked it. I enjoyed reading it. There were probably things that I liked about it and things that I disliked about it that kind of even out. There weren't any really strong emotions that I felt. I didn't really dislike it, and I didn't really love it either, so it was a very neutral feeling in the middle. Oftentimes 3-star books will be books that I found quite average. There's nothing like that stands out about it. The 3-star territory is probably the most complicated place for me to rate books, because lots of the books that I rate end up being 3 stars, and that's just because 3 stars is kind of a wide category for me. The only time that I will apply half stars is in the 3-star 3-star range. If I am debating whether this book is closer to a 2-star, then it will be a 2.5. If I think it's closer to a 4-star, then I will rate it a 3.5. So the 0.5 stars that I give are just between 2 stars and 4 stars because I feel like I have a lot of 3-star reads, but some 3-star reads are better than other 3-star reads, and it just gets really complicated when you look at 2 books and you're like, well, I dislike this one a lot more than I liked this one, but I don't think either of them belong in the 2 or the 4 category. So when that happens, I employ 0.5 stars to specify that this book is something I liked a lot more than what I generally rate as 3 stars, but not enough to be a 4-star. Or this is a book I disliked more than most of the books that I rate 3 stars, so I'm gonna rate it 2.5. For Goodreads, that just means I rate it 3 and then specify in my review where the 0.5 is. So, examples of 3-star reads. One example is A Darker Shade of Magic. This is a book that I found to be fairly average. Lots of people were hyping it up. This could influence my experience with it. I was very disappointed with this book. However, I really enjoyed the world building. I think V.E. Schwab's descriptions was very imaginative, and I liked the magic, and the plot was pretty well done. I just didn't enjoy the characters, and a lot of the stuff in the book just didn't work for me. Another example of a 3-star book for me is Cemetery Boys. I actually really enjoyed reading this book. I had fun. I read it all in one day, actually. However, I did find that it dragged on a little bit in the middle, and part of the plot kind of got away from us somewhere in the middle as well, and then everything happened all at once at the end, and that's why it wasn't a 4-star read for me, because I feel like the plot didn't really flow as well as it could have, and the ending was just really, really rushed. So feelings that are often associated with 3-star reads are satisfaction, enjoyment, and intrigue. So 4 stars generally means that I loved this book. So I really enjoyed this book. I felt like a lot of the elements were really strong and worked really well together. So 4-star books are books that I would definitely recommend that somebody else read. 4 stars mostly would have some kind of combination of good plot, pacing, character development, and a good ending. What constitutes as good really just depends on my own opinion. I don't really have any kind of objective way of determining whether something is good or bad other than my feelings about it. 4-star read will probably have something that I felt like was severely lacking, but does not affect how much I enjoy the book or love the book. It just means that I just wish we could have gotten more from the book. 4 stars could also mean I felt like maybe it dragged on a little too long or could have been condensed. So an example of a 4-star read for me would be Children of Blood and Bone. I really love this book and I do recommend it to my friends. However, I wasn't the biggest fan of some of the plot and character development in this book, and that's why it is 4 stars and not 5 stars for me. So feelings that are often experienced with 4-star reads would be thrill, investment, and adventure, I would say. As in, this is going to be a roller coaster ride and I am all in for it. So 5 stars means I am in love with this book. Like, I really, really love it. Like, I could shout from the rooftops how much I love this book. It is a book that has made some sort of impact on me, whether that's an emotional one or like just I strive to write a book like this kind of feeling. 5-star reads for me are books that not only would I definitely recommend them, but I myself would probably reread it or have already reread it. I don't normally reread books, so in order for me to reread a book, that means I absolutely loved it. 5 stars means that I was or am probably involved in the fandom online. Usually I just lurk around, look up fan art, fan fiction, and when I'm involved with the fandom, that's when you know I have taken that extra step from like a 4-star read to a 5-star read, because I am investing time outside of actually reading and talking about the book to like actively searching for things related to the book. 5 stars doesn't necessarily mean I didn't have any problems with the book. I don't think there's a perfect book out there, because if I only rated perfect books 5 stars, I probably wouldn't have any 5-star reads. I have yet to read a book that has made me cry, but if a book makes me cry, I'm probably gonna rate it 5 stars. I don't know what book that will be, but someday I will find it. So examples of 5-star reads would be Six of Crows. I know this is a really popular book on BookTube and the book community. Y'all, I'm a basic bitch, okay? I love Six of Crows. I recommend it to all my friends, and they generally really enjoy this book as well. Not only do I like this book, but I like both books in the duology together. They are both 5-star reads for me. They're a pair, and I feel like they are just a really solid series to read. I enjoyed the characters and the world and the plot and the ending as well. I liked it all. So feelings that are often experienced with 5-star reads would be excitement, obsession, and a massive book hangover. That's not really a feeling, but it is an experience. So just to summarize and give you the basic guide of how I rate books, 1 star would generally mean I really disliked this book, most likely disliked it with a passion. 2 stars means I didn't like this book. I didn't really enjoy it. I wasn't very interested in it. 3 stars means that I liked it. I enjoyed reading the book, but the things that I disliked and the things that I liked about it balanced each other out. 4 stars means I loved this book. I would recommend it to other people. And 5-star books are books that I am in love with, that I am obsessed with, that I not only would recommend, but are books that I personally would reread and rave and hype about. So that is just the quick guide to how I rate books. So I'm gonna briefly talk about how I review books. Typically when I review a book, I will break down the book into sort of its constituent parts. So I would discuss the characters and their development, the plot and the development, the pacing of the book, the world building or the magic system or what have you. And most of the time I will talk about the ending because I am an ending person. For me, endings mean a lot to how I rate and review a book because endings are really important to me personally. Because I spent all this time reading this book, and if I'm not satisfied with the ending, then is it really worth it to read all of that, to invest in all of it, and to get to somewhere where you are disappointed? So that's just like a really brief overview of how I would review a book. Each review is different, so it really just depends. But that is how I would tackle starting a review. So if you're interested to take a look at how I review books, then I do have a lot of reviews on my Goodreads, but more specifically, the more in-depth reviews are available on my blog, which you can check out with the link in the description below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, and if you want to see more of my stuff, then make sure you hit subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when I upload, because I upload twice a week on Mondays and Fridays, and you don't want to miss out. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!